I'm Tara Stiles, and I'm the founder of Strala. Strala is a movement system of yoga that really ignites freedom. So we focus on moving over posing and feeling into each thing that feels good for the person. So there's really no one wrong way, and it really gives a sense of freedom and ease. People can do hard, challenging things in an easygoing way and really accomplish a lot more with a lot less effort. I think it's super important for people to really find what works for them and really find their own individuality within their own healthcare system that you set up for yourself. So when you practice yoga in an easygoing way and meditation, you're really cultivating that sense of intuition and well-being, and really creating that desire to make choices that work for you, not necessarily choices that work for somebody else. And I think there's so much information out there in the world, and there's so much information about health and wellness. Sometimes we can get overwhelmed, what diet to be on, what to do, what kind of exercise program to do. And when you start to really connect with yourself, all those choices become really clear. You say, oh, well, that really feels good for me. Or you start to go into feeling mode instead of thinking and analyzing mode. And when you come back to feeling mode, Deepak always says you're either in the flow or out of the flow. And when you come back to that flow state of really following your intuition, then you're in the right place to be for yourself. When I was a really little kid, I grew up in the woods. My family were I call them straight edge hippies. So they had this passive solar house they built with, no ability or no real background in doing that. So they sort of made their own rules and followed their own intuition. So I had all of this really good role modeling for that. When I was really little, I would go out into the woods and sort of just sit down and breathe and meditate. And I talked to Deepak about this because I would see colors and I was like, what does that mean? And I'd tell my parents, I'm seeing all these colors and everything's connected. And they're like, don't say anything about that to anybody. They're going to put you in the loop. So I kind of kept it to myself, but still practiced meditation on my own. And I did classical dance growing up. So we had yoga in the ballet program when I was getting into high school. So I was so excited. I saw this yoga teacher sitting at the front of the room, just like that, smiling and beaming light. And I was like, this is amazing. This is what I always wanted to find other people doing this. I didn't know it could be a job or let alone a career. I always thought that I would dance or, be in a contemporary dance company. And I got picked up to do some modeling along the way. And that was I had no idea I was qualified for that job. I was so unsophisticated, Midwest cornfield girl. And I was like, this is really easy. I just stand here and I get a check, and this is great. So I saw it as a big gift and something to buy myself some time while I figure out what I wanted to do. And I kept doing yoga. I noticed a lot of people had a lot of misconceptions or were intimidated by yoga. And I experienced yoga as this amazing thing that's really inside of everybody, that doesn't have to be, putting your foot behind your head or necessarily eating perfect or, having a perfect whatever that means for people. But people had all of these sort of worries about it. So I kept leading classes, and I opened a small studio just on the side, and sort of one thing kept leading to another, and people said, the way that you're leading these classes is very different, and you should start a style of yoga. And I said, that's the most narcissistic thing you can do on the planet. It's start your own style of anything. So I was really against it for years. And then people started that were coming a lot were teaching in the same way and going out into the world in different cities and having a lot of success with people in their classes, really finding their own ease and finding their own way. And they were saying the same things about the classes that they were saying in New York. So I said, well, okay, I can take my dance background and really come up with a pedagogy of, of learning, of anatomy and movement vocabulary. And I was like, oh my gosh, this all comes together. My whole life of growing up doing ballet and studying movement in the body. And yoga is the same thing that I'm doing now, but I didn't have that in my brain organized yet. So once I figured that out, it was a lot more clear to really sort of plug it in and really start building this global network of instructors and just having so much fun. I mean, it's so much work, but the work is so much fun and really super rewarding to see everybody just having a great time and really, most importantly, feeling connected to themselves, and they don't feel like they have to do something that's intimidating or scary. And it's really about empowering people to feel better so they make better choices in their own lives.
The body is connected. Why are we not treating it as such?
How did they make the wheat resistant to an herbicide? That is, the farmer can spray his field full of this herbicide, the Misomox, and it kills the weeds, but doesn't kill the wheat. How'd they get the wheat to be so resistant to the herbicide if no genetic modification was used?